Most people who try to build a food stockpile make the same critical mistake before leaving the house. They buy the wrong things, not because they failed to try, but because nobody showed them the actual math. 6 months of real food security for one person costs less than $50 if you buy the right items. For a family of 4, the complete number lands under $200 at any major grocery store. Not survival rations, not freeze-dried military packs, not anything requiring a specialty store or bulk online order. Real food, the kind your family already eats and the kind that will keep them genuinely healthy. By the end of this video, you will have an exact list with exact quantities and exact current prices. You will also have a system for buying all of it across 3 grocery trips without touching your budget. Most people skip this kind of preparation not because they cannot afford it, but because nobody made it simple. This video makes it simple. 10 items, $200, one family, 6 full months of food security. The list will surprise you, and the math behind every single item will surprise you even more. Before the list, the framework that makes $200 the right number, not a marketing claim. $200 works because this list prioritizes caloric density and shelf life over convenience and variety. The average American household spends approximately $150 to $200 per week on groceries for a family of 4. This list covers 6 months of foundational security for the same amount most households spend in a single week. The math works because bulk staples have a cost per serving structure that packaged and processed foods cannot approach. A serving of oats from a bulk bag costs approximately 4 cents. The same serving from single-serve packets costs 48 cents. That 12-to-1 price gap is the foundation this list is built on. Repeated across every item, the savings become significant. The second reason 200 works, this list covers the foundation, not the entirety of your reserve. It covers calories, protein, fat, flavor, micronutrients, and morale. The categories that keep a household functional. Everything beyond this list is optional variety added on top of a foundation that already works on its own. Most people skip building the foundation and spend their budget on variety, which is why their reserve fails when it matters. Here is what the list looks like and why each item earns its place on it. Before the list, one number worth knowing. FEMA recommends every household maintain at minimum 72 hours of food. Only 53% of American households currently meet that minimum, according to documented federal survey data. Grocery prices across major categories have increased an average of 21% over the past 3 years. Buying this list today means locking in current prices before they move higher over the next 6 months. The rule for everything that follows: 10 items, a $200 hard cap, 0 specialty stores required. Every single item is available at Walmart, Costco, or any standard regional grocery chain across the country. No subscriptions, no specialty equipment, no preparation beyond storing things on a shelf in a cool, dry location. Here is the list, starting at number 10 and ending at the item almost nobody thinks to include. Number 10 is iodized salt, and the reason it opens this list is not what most people expect. A 26-ounce container of iodized salt costs roughly $1.50 at any standard grocery store. That container has a shelf life that is effectively indefinite when stored away from direct heat and moisture. Salt is not just flavor. Every other item on this list becomes significantly more edible because of it. Iodine deficiency from avoiding iodized salt produces measurable thyroid dysfunction that develops within a matter of weeks. A household with months of rice and no salt will notice that absence within the very first week. This is also the item that makes everything else taste like it belongs on a table, not in an emergency. 2 containers, $3 total, the single lowest cost item on the entire list by a wide margin. Number 9 is bulk rolled oats, and the difference between buying bulk versus single-serve packets is dramatic. Single-serve oatmeal packets cost roughly 12 times more per serving than the same oats purchased in bulk. A 25-pound bag of rolled oats produces more than 450 individual full-size servings. That bag costs around $18 at Costco, Winco, or any warehouse grocery retailer in the country. Shelf life runs approximately 2 years at room temperature. In a sealed, airtight container, closer to 5 years. Rolled oats are not only breakfast, they thicken soups, extend other dishes, and stretch limited meals further. They also cook in 5 minutes with nothing more than hot water, which matters when options are constrained. Oats also provide soluble fiber that keeps digestion functioning normally during a period of restricted dietary variety. One bag, $18. Breakfast for a family of 4 covered for roughly 3 consecutive months. Here is the dimension of oats that most food storage guides never mention because they treat oats purely as a breakfast item. Rolled oats are one of the most effective savory meal extenders in any shelf-stable pantry when cooking for multiple people. Adding a quarter cup of dry oats to a pot of soup thickens it, adds body, and extends the volume by roughly 30%. Mixed into ground meat or beans, oats stretch a 2-serving protein portion to 3 servings with no detectable texture change. In any situation where protein sources are limited, that 30 to 50% stretch in every serving matters significantly. Oats also act as a thickener for sauces and gravies that would otherwise require flour, which means one item performs 2 functions. The practical rule: if any cooked dish needs more body or volume and you are running short on protein, oats are your first tool. This dual-function use means your 25-pound bag works harder than any other single item on this list at its price point. Number 8 is dried lentils, and this is the most complete protein source on the entire $200 list. Almost nobody includes lentils in a food storage plan, which is precisely why this item earns its spot. 1 pound produces roughly 10 full servings of complete plant protein at approximately $1.20 per pound. Unlike dried beans, lentils require no overnight soaking and cook fully in under 20 minutes on a stovetop. Shelf life sealed in a container exceeds 10 years, with no meaningful degradation in nutrition or texture. They pair with rice, absorb flavor from bouillon, and combine with tomato paste to create an actual meal. Lentils also provide iron and folate, 2 nutrients largely absent from the other staples on this list. 10 pounds, $12. Roughly 100 servings of complete protein for a family of 4. No other item on this list delivers this much protein at this price point across 6 full months. There is one additional capability of lentils that belongs on this list and that almost nobody in food storage discusses. Lentils sprout in 2 to 3 days with nothing more than a jar, a piece of cloth, and water. No soil, no light required. Sprouted lentils provide live enzymes, vitamin C, and a nutritional profile that no other shelf-stable food on this list can match. In a long stretch without fresh produce, sprouted lentils become one of your only sources of genuinely fresh nutrition. The sprouting process. Rinse a quarter cup of dry lentils, soak overnight, drain, rinse twice daily, eat in 48 to 72 hours. Cost per batch? Approximately 30 cents. Nutritional yield, equivalent to a fresh salad serving for 1 adult. This single capability transforms lentils from a protein source into a live nutrition source, a category nothing else on this list enters. The cooking method also matters for fuel conservation. Unlike dried beans, lentils reach full softness in 15 to 20 minutes. Beans require 45 to 90 minutes of boiling. Every extra minute of boiling consumes fuel you may not have unlimited access to. In a fuel-constrained scenario, lentils are the correct choice over beans, 3 to 6 times less fuel per serving of equivalent protein. Number 7 is dried pasta, and the reason it makes this list is not primarily about nutrition. Research on morale during extended food restriction consistently shows that familiar foods reduce measurable psychological stress. Pasta is one of the most recognizable comfort foods in the American household diet across every demographic. In a long stretch of limited variety, serving something that looks and tastes genuinely normal carries real weight. 1 pound of dried pasta produces 4 generous servings and costs approximately $1 at any store. 10 pounds covers 40 full meals and pairs directly with the canned tomato paste coming later on this list. When combined with cooking oil and bouillon, pasta becomes something a family will genuinely look forward to eating. That psychological dimension is not a luxury. It is a documented factor in how households function under stress. 10 pounds, $10. The cheapest morale investment your food reserve can possibly make per serving. Number 6 is white rice, 50 pounds, and this is the caloric foundation the entire list is built around. Rice is not here because it is exciting, it is here because it is the most efficient base available. 50 pounds of long-grain white rice produces more than 500 individual servings at standard portion sizes. A 50-pound bag runs approximately $25 at Sam's Club, Costco, or any restaurant supply store. White rice stored sealed in a food-grade container maintains full quality for 25 to 30 years. Here is what rice cannot do alone. It contains almost no fat and delivers almost no essential vitamins. That is why every remaining item on this list exists, to turn rice into a complete, sustainable diet. Without oil, without protein, without flavor, rice is calories only, and calories alone cannot sustain a household. Every other item on this list is here to solve the nutritional gaps that rice by itself leaves open. 50 pounds, $25. The caloric backbone of your reserve and the item that makes everything else make sense. Number 5 is canned tomato paste, and this one catches people off guard when they first see it listed. Here is a number worth understanding. 95% of all American processed tomatoes come from one single region. That region is California's Central Valley, currently operating under significant and well-documented ongoing supply pressure. Water restrictions tied to prolonged drought have meaningfully reduced both planting acreage and irrigation across the valley. Labor costs and availability have become serious operational challenges at both the farming and processing levels simultaneously. Smaller tomato producers are scaling back or exiting the business entirely, a trend accelerating over recent years. Because production is this concentrated, there is no meaningful domestic backup when California output drops below normal. When that output falls, shelves go partially empty without a clear or predictable timeline for restocking. Tomato paste transforms everything else. Rice becomes chili, vegetables become soup, pasta becomes a meal worth eating. A single ingredient that costs 50 cents per can does more to vary your meals than almost anything else. 24 cans at roughly 50 cents each equals $12 and a 3 to 5 year shelf life. Number 4 is vegetable cooking oil in large containers, carrying the best calorie-to-dollar ratio on the entire list. 2 years ago, a 1-gallon jug of standard vegetable oil cost around $6 at most grocery chains. Today, that same jug costs between $12 and $14, more than double in just 24 months. The price increase is only part of the problem. Availability of large format containers has also grown inconsistent. A single gallon of vegetable oil contains roughly 30,000 calories at less than half a cent per calorie. Most purpose-built emergency food products cost 5 to 10 times that amount per calorie. The gap is significant. Here is what most people skip past. Dietary fat is not optional. The body requires it to function. Fat is needed to absorb vitamins A, D, E, and K, and for sustained hormonal and neurological function. Rice, beans, pasta, and canned vegetables contain almost no fat. Without added oil, deficiencies develop within weeks. Documented outcomes of fat-deficient diets include fatigue, cognitive fog, hormonal disruption, and a weakened immune response. That is not theoretical. It is a well-established physiological reality seen consistently in documented field and clinical settings. 3 gallons in a cool, dark location provides roughly a full year of adequate dietary fat for one adult. Rotate by pulling the oldest jug every 2 months and replacing it immediately to keep the stock fresh. 3 gallons, $36. The most nutritionally critical purchase on this list, outside of number 1. The rotation protocol for cooking oil is specific enough to warrant spelling out, because most people skip it and end up with rancid oil. When you purchase 3 gallons, label each jug with the purchase date on the cap using a permanent marker. Pull the oldest jug to your kitchen counter and use it for daily cooking. The 2 remaining jugs stay in storage undisturbed. When the counter jug empties, pull the next stored jug to the counter and immediately replace the storage slot with a fresh jug. This first-in, first-out cycle keeps your stored oil within a rolling 18-month window, well within the oxidation safety threshold. Storage location matters as much as rotation. A cool, dark cabinet away from the stove extends shelf life by months versus a warm pantry shelf. Temperature above 70 degrees accelerates oxidation. Every 10-degree increase roughly doubles the rate of fat degradation. A garage, attic, or south-facing storage room is the wrong place for cooking oil, regardless of how new it is. The simple test for oil quality: pour a tablespoon into a white bowl and smell it directly. Fresh oil is mild and neutral. Rancid oil smells distinctly like old paint, crayons, or nail polish remover. Any of those signals means discard and replace immediately. This protocol takes about 4 minutes per month and ensures the most calorically critical item in your reserve is always functional. Number 3 is bulk bouillon cubes, and this single item makes everything else on the list worth eating. One cube costs approximately 5 cents, weighs almost nothing, and turns plain water into a cup of seasoned broth. A can of store-bought prepared broth costs around $2 for the same volume, 40 times the cost. 200 bouillon cubes fit in a container the size of a shoebox and weigh under 2 pounds. 200 equivalent cans of broth would require significant shelf space and represent hundreds of dollars in storage costs. Plain white rice cooked in bouillon broth is a completely different eating experience from rice cooked in water. Canned beans simmered with bouillon and a tablespoon of oil become an actual meal rather than emergency rations. Canned vegetables and bouillon broth become real soup, requiring no special skill and no additional ingredients. There is a well-documented psychological effect that builds during extended periods where food variety stays consistently low. It is not hunger, it is monotony, and research shows it measurably degrades household morale over time. Studies on extended food restriction in military and humanitarian contexts identify flavor variety as a key practical intervention. 200 cubes, $15. 200 servings of seasoned flavor at roughly 7 cents each. Number 2 is honey in large format containers, the only item on this list that will genuinely never expire. Not in the marketing sense, in the literal chemical sense. Properly stored honey cannot spoil under any condition. Honey has a water activity level too low for microbial growth and a pH acidic enough to block bacteria. It also produces trace hydrogen peroxide through enzymatic activity, providing ongoing and natural antimicrobial protection over time. Archaeologists found honey in Egyptian tombs over 3,000 years old and tested it as chemically intact. Nothing else in your pantry belongs in the same category. That shelf life is not a marketing claim. A 5-pound jug costs approximately $22 and covers sweetening needs for the full 6-month reserve period. Honey substitutes for refined sugar in virtually every cooking and baking application with almost no recipe adjustment needed. Its antibacterial properties are not folk medicine. Medical-grade honey is actively used in clinical wound care worldwide. It also functions as a natural cough suppressant, backed by peer-reviewed studies showing effectiveness over common alternatives. Large format containers are increasingly difficult to find, while smaller jars remain available but serve a different purpose. 5 pounds, $22, indefinite shelf life. The only item on this list you never need to rotate. Number 1 is the item almost nobody puts on a food storage list, and that omission creates a real problem. Every item above was chosen carefully. The rice, the protein, the fat, the flavor, the caloric foundation. But here is what even a complete food reserve still cannot fully solve without this one final item. A diet built from shelf-stable staples will produce measurable deficiencies in vitamin C, vitamin D, iron, and zinc. You cannot taste a vitamin deficiency, cannot see it developing, and most people never connect symptoms to their food. By the time it affects your focus and immunity, the deficiency has already been building quietly for weeks. One 365-count multivitamin bottle covers one adult for an entire calendar year at any grocery store. 2 adult bottles and 1 children's bottle covers a family of 4 for the full 6-month reserve period. Total cost for 3 bottles runs approximately $18. the lowest cost per day item anywhere on this list. This is the backup for your backup, ensuring every other item on the list performs as designed. $18. Without it, this list is a calorie count. With it, it is an actual functioning diet. Here is the specific timeline of what happens without multivitamins on a shelf-stable diet, because the timeline is faster than most people expect. Week 1 through 2. The body draws on stored reserves. No symptoms. Everything appears normal. Nothing signals a problem yet. Week 3. Vitamin C stores begin depleting noticeably. Early symptoms, slightly slower healing, mild fatigue, are easy to attribute to stress. Week 4 through 5. Iron and B vitamin levels drop measurably. Fatigue becomes more persistent, and concentration starts degrading noticeably. Week 6. Without supplementation, vitamin C deficiency crosses into clinically significant territory. Immune function measurably weakens. At this stage, healing from minor injuries slows, susceptibility to illness increases, and cognitive performance declines. Week 8 and beyond. Vitamin D deficiency compounds the picture, particularly in winter months or low sunlight conditions. Zinc deficiency affects immune response and wound healing at levels most people would notice as persistent illness and slow recovery. One multivitamin per adult per day interrupts this entire cascade for less than 5 cents daily, the most cost-effective intervention on the list. For children, the B vitamin and iron requirements are higher relative to body weight. A children's multivitamin is not optional if children are in the household. The timeline above assumes a diet like this list: adequate calories and some variety. On a purely calorie-focused rice and beans diet, every milestone arrives 2 to 3 weeks earlier. Here is the complete list, so you can take this directly to the store on your next shopping trip. Number 10. Iodized salt. 2 containers, $3. Shelf life indefinite, available at every grocery store. Number 9. Rolled oats in bulk. 25 pounds, $18, 450 servings covered. Number 8. Dried lentils. 10 pounds, $12, 100 servings of complete plant-based protein. Number 7. Dried pasta. 10 pounds, $10. 40 full meals your family will actually recognize. Number 6. White rice. 50 pounds, $25, 500 servings, 30-year shelf life. Number 5. Canned tomato paste. 24 cans, $12. Transforms every other staple on the shelf. Number 4. Vegetable cooking oil. 3 gallons, $36. Most calorically efficient item on the list. Number 3. Bulk bouillon. 200 cubes, $15. 200 servings of flavor at 7 cents each. Number 2. Large format honey. 5 pounds, $22. Shelf life measured not in years, but centuries. Number 1. Multivitamins. 3 bottles, $18. 12 months of complete nutritional coverage for one family. 10 items, $171 total, $29 under the $200 hard cap. That remaining $29 is yours to add more of whatever item your household uses most quickly. This is not a prediction, and it is not an argument for panic buying or extreme stockpiling behavior. This is a practical case for building a modest, rotating reserve before items become harder to find. Same logic as car insurance. You purchase it before you need it, not at the moment you do. 3 shopping trips is all this requires, and none of them need to happen on the same day. Trip 1 covers rice, oats, and lentils. Your nearest warehouse store will have all 3 in one visit. Trip 2 covers cooking oil, pasta, and tomato paste, all available at any standard grocery chain. Trip 3 covers honey, bouillon, salt, and multivitamins, the items that make the rest of the reserve function. Here is the exact list broken out by store, so there is no ambiguity about where to find each item. Costco or Sam's Club. 50-pound white rice bag. 25-pound rolled oats. 10-pound dried lentils. Vegetable oil 3-pack. Everything from that warehouse run lands under $80 and covers the entire caloric and protein foundation in one trip. Standard grocery store. Any chain. 10 pounds of pasta. 24 cans of tomato paste. 2 containers of iodized salt, bulk bouillon. Everything from that grocery run lands under $45 and covers the flavor and seasoning layer entirely. Final stop, Walmart, Target, or any grocery chain. 5-pound honey, 3 bottles of multivitamins, plus any remaining items. Everything from that final run lands under $50 and closes the nutritional and shelf life gaps the other items leave open. Total across 3 stops, approximately $171. $29 under the $200 hard cap. That remaining $29 covers 1 extra gallon of cooking oil, an additional 10 cans of tomato paste, or more bouillon. Spend it on whichever item your household is most likely to consume fastest, because that item will deplete first under real conditions. If you have children, spend the extra on additional lentils and oats. Protein and breakfast coverage depletes fastest in households with children. If you have elderly family members, spend it on additional honey and bouillon. Both are easier to consume with reduced appetite. 3 stops, $171. 1 family. 6 months of foundational food security at any standard grocery and warehouse store. At a regular household grocery budget, adding 2 items per trip is barely noticeable in the weekly total. Done consistently across 3 trips, you will find you have built something genuinely useful on your shelves. Not a stockpile built on anxiety, a practical reserve that insulates your household from real price spikes. The price increases and spot shortages documented across these categories are not projections. They are current observations. The people best positioned 6 months from now are not the ones who reacted when shelves went empty. They are the ones who acted when things still looked fine, when acting was easy and the window was open. 10 items: salt, oats, lentils, pasta, rice, tomato paste, oil, bouillon, honey, multivitamins, $171. The decision to start this week cost almost nothing. Waiting costs more than most people understand until it matters. Which item are you picking up first this week? Let us know in the comments below right now.